just to start things off, why don't you tell us what your business is, where you're located, and everything that you guys do?
Yeah, so we're located in Pennsylvania, Northeast Pennsylvania specifically. Our mission as a company is to make Northeast Pennsylvania better by revitalizing the neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
So Northeast PA is like part of the Rust Belt. It's kind of left behind, you know. It's a depressed area. There's a lot of distressed housing. So we've kind of stuck around instead of like leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to fix up as many houses as possible. And that's the first step. And then bringing additional employment, you know, I think there's multiple things that lead to fulfillment and happiness in an individual. So like a good house where you have security and like good utilities and, you know, something you can call home, right?
Yep.
That's not breaking the bank in Northeast PA in this case. A good job to go to so you can make money and provide for your family. And then community. I think all three of those things are really important for people's well-being. So our first step is renovating the housing in Northeast PA and giving people quality housing to live in,
Mm-hmm.
while trying to keep the price affordable relative to wages in that area.
Gotcha. Hey, Lonan, I gotta ask her this.
Hi.
Would you mind being young Jamie and looking something up for us?
Sure.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I've heard this somewhere, and I think there's some correlation to owning a home and then like kids being successful in school or either with grades or something after school. I was just wondering if there's anything like that that you could find.
Between,
Owning a home, like you're owning your home.
yeah.
They're definitely like, so I'll make a good point about that. So in Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, it was written in 1776. He talks about in there about how, you know, when you have a home, you have like a sense of security and community and you want to make it better just because like that's yours. And so like the introduction of private property rights
Mm-hmm.
in the United States is really like about home ownership and taking pride in that. Think about all the companies that were started in garages, you know?
Yeah.
So people get, you know, their property, their land, they're free to do what they want. And next thing you know, you start tinkering around in your garage,
Mhm.
you know, and next thing you know, you build Apple, you know?
Yeah.
So
What did you find?
So correlation between owning a home and
Kids' success, or like success in school or success after school, something around that as well.
Owning a home does boost kids' educational success.
Who measured that, or who made that?
This is habitatcalaveras.org.
So Habitat for Humanity put something
Oh,
out.
wow.
I'm sure that is
Yeah.
a big part of their mission, right?
yeah, for sure.
Is there any specifics on how it does help them?
It just says children in homeowner households tend to get better grades, score higher in math and reading, and more likely to go to college.
So that they get better grades, they score higher in math and reading, and they're more likely to go to college if they
It's
own
the
their home.
stability.
Yeah, the stability. Yeah, because
Yeah.
then I guess you're not worried about your landlord kicking you out or
Anything else.
selling the house or anything. You do have more of a sense of security to interact from.
Yeah, and for a lot of people, it's kind of hard to get ahead paying rent. You know,
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know what the statistics are, but how much of America's net worth is tied up into their home right now? Like it's a lot. I think the majority of Americans' net worth is in their home.
Mm-hmm.
So they're able to get loans against that, and you know.
Yeah. Hey, thanks.
Yeah,
Hey,
thank
if you want to say out here, you don't mind. That was fun.
you.
Happy to help.
Young Jamie.
So how did you get started with this thing? You grew up there, obviously, but how did you get into real estate?
So I went to college, Keystone College, a small community college in Pennsylvania, and I did a research paper actually on the construction industry. I was a business admin major, and I was working night shift and I was going to college during the day, and I found during writing this paper that like millennials wouldn't do blue collar work if you paid them over $200,000. They did a survey, so no matter what you
They
paid
would
them,
not do.
they would not do it.
Yeah.
No matter what you paid. I think 70% said like they're not going to do it no matter
Yeah,
what.
I'm a
basically.
millennial.
Yeah, I'm the first. I'm like the oldest Gen Z. Right?
Okay.
I'm 28, so
Yeah.
I'm technically Gen Z, I guess. But so that's what I saw, and I mean even right now, for every 5 people that retire in the trades, there's only 2 to replace them. So it's still such like a labor gap that this country is going to experience, especially with the immigration stuff that's going on currently. So I saw those trends, and I dropped out of college. I started working in the trades. My brother-in-law bought a petroleum company in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania, which is a college town. I moved down there to help run that. I was supposed to take that over. But then I started to get into real estate. I kind of realized, like, as I was taking out student loans.
Completely opportunistic.
Yeah.
You were seeing that there was a big gap. So when there's a big gap, supply and demand means you can get paid more for that work.
Right.
And that seemed like a good opportunity for you. And
It seemed like it didn't seem, the business admin degree, I'm not 100% sure exactly what job, like, I'm a shoe-in with that degree. I don't, like, it's such a common degree. And you read the statistics on those too, like psychology degree, I think like 40% unemployment, it's one of the highest unemployment rates, and then business admin's right behind that. So I think I saw some of that too. I realized my professor was only making $60K and he's supposed to be this business genius. So I just felt like it wasn't right. And there was something in the back of my head where it's like, I'm taking out all this debt, and I think my interest rate was like 6.9% at the time. And I felt like I could work a minimum wage job and get like a duplex. And like, so I had that seed in the back of my mind from somewhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool. How did you do your first deal?
So this is a really good story. My landlord, once I moved to Bloomsburg, Samantha Capita, she's a rock star agent. She had like 40 units at the time. And I was telling her like, hey, I really want to get into this. So on Christmas, she bought me Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Nice.
So I read Rich Dad Poor Dad from my landlord.
Yeah.
And then I bought my first duplex with an FHA loan, and she was my agent. So she helped me find, the bank and everything. And so it worked out really well.
How did that deal work out? It was a duplex, so that means you're probably living in one side, renting out the other?
Yeah. So I got started right when COVID hit. So I was working, saving up as much money as possible. And then COVID hit. I don't know if I should say that word. They might anyway.
Oh, yeah, you're good.
So the pandemic hit, and right in the beginning of 2020, I don't know if you remember, like, everybody was kind of scared. Like, we've never experienced this before in our lifetime. So prices dropped. Like, you couldn't go into people's houses or anything like that. So that's when I bought my first duplexes, like, right then. And so I got a really good deal on it. And I lived in one side. It was student housing because I was in a university town. So I rented out the bedrooms on my side. I rented out the other side, and I just kept working. And I was able to stack up money because I didn't have any rent. I was actually making money at that point.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So did you ever? I mean, was it really that easy? Like, any issues or?
Well, I guess I'll say this. Like, so I bought that property then, but there's probably 2 years of prep before that.
Prep is what, saving the down payment, learning.
Yeah, saving the down payment. I think I ate like rice and chicken and beans for 2 years, for dinner.
So how much did the house cost?
It was $150,000.
All right, and so with FHA loan, you had to do 3.5% down.
Yep.
So you had to save with closing fees maybe $7,000.
Yeah, I think it was like $10K.
Yeah.
At the end of it. Yeah.
All right.
So I spent that $10K, moved in, and then it really just started snowballing.
Yeah.
I kept working.
Mortgage, taxes, insurance, probably what, $1,300 a month?
Even less, I believe. Yeah, I think it.
Yeah, because interest rates were pretty low as well.
Yeah.
And then what did it rent for? Do you remember the?
So the right side that was fully rented out was rented out for $925 a month.
Oh, nice.
I believe.
So that almost covers the payment. Right?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
And then I had two roommates on my side.
So they're paying
$400
each. $400 each.
$400 each.
Hey, that's great.
So I was
doing
like
really well,
getting ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had no expense yourself.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anybody that's listening to this, like, I really suggest them to go that route.
Yes, I did the same thing, but it was a 5-bedroom house.
Okay.
And I rented out 3 of the rooms and lived in the 4th, and then it was too crowded. I couldn't rent out that last one. But it was definitely nice to get ahead.
Yeah. Well, after you do that, you're like, all right, I don't really want to do this again.
Yeah. Or if you have I don't think you had a girlfriend or a wife
No.
at that time, and neither did I. But if you did, the duplex is actually a nice way to do it because you have a wall separating you from the other person.
Yeah.
But then you don't need to rent out the other 2 bedrooms. But I like how you did it. you were maximizing every square foot that you could for a dollar.
Yeah, just
Back in the early days when every dollar really matters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it still does. That's one of the things that I'm very like Berkshire Hathaway, like Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger of that value vesting school, and I think watching your expenses is super important. But, yeah. So I'm still like super frugal when it comes to money.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. You mean in your business or personal?
Well, in the business, I mean, you gotta, if it's gonna increase productivity and efficiency, you have to spend the money.
Yeah.
But if you're not increasing productivity or efficiency, then we're not spending the money. Basically.
Would you drive Warren Buffett's car for the rest of your life, or
for sure.
How do you? Oh, you would.
Yeah.
So you resonate with that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, like, and then there's that video of Jeff Bezos when he's worth like $4 billion and he's got the 1998 Honda. And then Warren Buffett. I think he was in his 2017 Cadillac in this last shareholder meeting when he announced he's going to retire.
Yeah, but now Jeff Bezos has a big yacht.
Yeah, but that's a lot of billions later, and the company is well off. I think taking resources away from the company is, not in our best interest as the company right now. At some point, if I had $20 million in the bank, like, all right, I might get a nice car. Or a Ferrari or something, but until then, like, I would prefer not to use banks. Like, I would prefer to use my own cash.
Well, tell us about the deals you do. What is your main business model? Now, I'm assuming you can't keep buying FHA duplexes.
No. So I actually started out backwards. Like, so I got into wholesaling. I'm flipping now, but I started out buying rentals, and I bought that duplex, and I bought a 5-unit, and then I bought a 20-unit, and then I learned about wholesaling, and then I learned about creative finance all around there, but I learned about wholesaling, so then I started doing that. I'm in a state, Pennsylvania, that just passed regulations this year that requires you to be licensed, SB 1173, and you also have to have a 30-day cancellation period in your contract. Which all that's fine, but I'm not licensed, and I decided not to get licensed. So starting like last year, we probably wholesaled around 50 deals, and that's the majority of what we did. I didn't really buy that many rentals or anything like that. And then this year, we're just like, hey, we're just gonna flip. So so far this year, we've done about 8 flips. It's a little bit behind of what we're looking to do. But we're looking to net $1 million this year from flipping in Northeast PA.
Got it. So you said a few things there. You did 50 wholesale deals last year. Your state requires you to be licensed now. It's a new law. So you said you don't want to be licensed. So you're totally not doing wholesaling anymore?
Well, so if we work with some other people, sometimes we'll kind of give them the deal to do what they will with it. So this is the thing. When you get a call from somebody and they're in extreme stress and they're really motivated to sell and like nobody else will help them, it's really hard to say like, hey, you're on your own, For instance, like a lot of people, I've dealt with like 3 people in foreclosure. And like an agent isn't going to be able to negotiate a short sale or a subject to transaction or anything like that. So in those scenarios, we will figure out a way to help that seller no matter what.
Well, how do you help them?
So if it's so let's say it's a foreclosure.
Yeah.
We'll do a subject to. We'll put a contract subject to, and we'll have our partners kind of run that through their brokerage. And so we're fully compliant, and we'll sign it, basically, subject to. So that you'll set up a trust, and you'll have a mirror wrap on it so that if there's any default, the seller can get the property back instead of just being stuck. So stuff like that.
And then the other deals you're doing are flips.
Yes.
Yeah. And if somebody's calling you in super distress, you could still take it down as a flip. You're just saying...
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
So not everything works for a flip, I guess.
Yeah.
That's
correct. Yeah. If you're looking at a really weird house, you don't want to worry about flipping it or something,
Yeah. Or if their mortgage is just too high to where we can't pay that number.
But that has nothing to do with having the requirement to be licensed.
No.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought we were talking about. I thought you said you went away from wholesaling because of the license requirement.
I did. Okay. Like, we don't really wholesale anymore.
Yeah.
It's just like
now you flip.
Yeah, we flip, but sometimes we get those deals that we can't, like, it's probably about half that would work for a wholesale deal, but don't work for a flip.
Got it.
So we're just sending those over to another party that can compliantly handle it, so that they're just not like lost,
Got it. So. And the other party is a registered agent, right?
Yes.
And that's required in the state of Pennsylvania as of this past year?
Yeah, as of January 9th this year.
All right, got it. And why did you decide not to get licensed yourself, to handle those completely yourself?
So I don't like the transactional as much. I'm, like I said at the beginning, I'm more of this like value investing school of thought. So to me, I'm like...
So you thought if you got licensed, it would hurt your ability to be a value investor focused person?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
We're just going to start flipping now.
Yeah.
So it's harder. It's harder to flip than to wholesale.
Yes.
So if I'm forced to flip now, which I didn't do a ton of it before. I did like a few here and there. I did some big renovations on some big buildings, but I wanted to learn more. I wanted to get better at that thing. Because I also think like the next big boom, 2026, 2027, 2028 is like new construction, building houses. So ultimately, like I'd like to start doing that too. And I felt like flipping was a great way to start learning, building those teams out, and all that. So I don't want to be transactional where it's just like a one-off here, one-off there, which flipping is still kind of that, but you're a little bit more involved in helping the community. So we redefined our why. Before we're kind of just running around doing stuff. But this really helped us establish a mission. And the whole team is on board with that mission. And it's something that's a lot bigger than ourselves. So money isn't the only motivating thing, is what I found. When I was 25, I was getting enough cash flow to not work anymore. And like I actually experienced depression, rather than like this, I achieved this goal. I actually felt like bad.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's because you put so much emphasis on achieving this thing. And then once you achieve that thing, you're still the same person. You're still nothing else has changed. Now you just have money.
Why did you say, well, how did you get out of it, the mission? But it seems like the mission also happened because you kind of forced not to do wholesaling.
Yeah, it did.
When you would wholesale a deal, were you finding that those properties weren't getting fixed up by the end buyer? Is that part of why you were depressed? Is you felt like, well, I'm making money, but the houses aren't getting fixed up.
Well, I guess so. I hit that level 1 financial freedom mark before I ever even like wholesaled, and then like I got into wholesaling afterwards, and I think there's definitely value in wholesaling. I think, and yeah, typically you're assigning them and somebody is fixing them up. Sometimes they're not. A lot of our people that invest in our area are from New York City. So sometimes they'll just dump a bunch of money and let it sit for a while. But there definitely is value to, I think anytime that you have more and more people and more liquidity in a market, it's good for the consumer. And then when you take those things away, it's probably not as good for the consumer, is just what I intuitively think.
Right.
So I think like wholesaling is a good thing.
Yeah, provides liquidity.
Yeah, exactly. And there's more buyers seeing the deals, So, but right now, like one of the problems is that you have a lot of people that don't really know what they're doing, right? They're watching a YouTube video or they're watching a podcast like this, and then they're going out and doing it, which that's been like the whole push from all the gurus is like, take action, take action. But what's happening is they're putting people under contract. They don't know how to communicate properly. They don't know how to set expectations properly. And they're just like not closing on the deal. And so now this person, like I've seen this multiple times. So now this person has packed up all their belongings. They're sitting there with nothing and they can't get a hold of the person that's supposed to buy their house.
Yeah.
you know. So that was happening a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's happening a lot everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you're seeing these regulations get introduced, and the MLS wants monopoly, you know.
Right.
But yeah.
More of that, I think. But
Yeah, I think so.
I was just curious, some of the expectations that somebody should set. How do you set expectations when you were wholesaling?
So I would say, like, so right now I'd say how we would set expectations if something like that transaction were to happen, we would flat out say like, hey, we can pay this cash. So we're anchoring with a cash price, right? Mm-hmm. And then we can say, well, I think we might be able to get you, one of our other investor friends might be able to pay a little bit more for this property. Would you mind if we wholesale it? We actually use the word wholesale. Mm-hmm. So
nice.
That's kind of how we pitch it.
That's nice. How many would take your cash offer versus try to have you wholesale it?
It's about half and half.
Mm-hmm.
It's about half and half.
Yeah, I think some of the biggest problem when a beginner can't sell the deal is they've given an offer that's too high.
Yeah.
Because if it was low enough, it should be easy to sell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. A deal sells itself if it's a good deal.
Right.
So yeah, you're 100%.
So one of the things you said was you felt the next big boom over the next couple of years would be new construction. Why do you feel that way?
So Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have put out some reports kind of talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I mean, that's been the whole talk for the last few years, right? Like this housing shortage, no affordable housing. You got builders like D.R. Horton building 90,000 houses a year under $425,000, which is affordable. Mm-hmm. And they're selling like fast.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of demand for people to get into nice new homes where they can live for the next 20 years and raise a family. You know, mm-hmm. like at the beginning of our conversation. So in my market, when I'm renovating a house, if I don't buy it at a really good price, I can't do everything that's really needed to make it like a really good product. So I can't buy a house for $100,000, put $100,000 into it, and then sell it for $180,000 in my market. You know what I mean? So,
well, that would be you would lose money.
You would lose money,
right?
So like you're getting a way better product when you have new construction instead of buying a 1900s home that's been renovated 3 times. You know. So I think but the price point, you know, just isn't there in our market yet. Mm-hmm. But
you need to have your price point in your market would need to be higher.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So we're still like, I feel like we're one of the last bastions of affordability. Mm-hmm. We're right around that 200,000 to 250,000 range.
Yeah.
So that's pretty affordable. I mean, that's half of the median home value in the United States almost. So I think those prices will probably climb all the way until we get to the new construction values. But
so I know you're transitioning from wholesaling to flipping. Are you thinking that you'll go full on new construction at some point as well in your evolution?
So our goal is to benefit the community. So first, we're going to flip all the houses there. You know, until that's not a viable strategy anymore, we're going to do that. And we'd like to try to like get more involved in our local government. Another thing we're going to be doing is like putting 3% of that profit into a nonprofit to help sponsor some of the candidates in our local government that we think do a good job. Because like right now, our local government is, they're dealing with problems from 30 years ago, you know, and they're...
With regards to housing and construction or just totally other?
So, you know, Scranton, PA had like a $26 million, or I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head, it's like $20 million deficit last year. They have 50% unfunded pension liabilities. They just sold the sewer company in 2016.
Oh, wow.
They sold their parking, like they're like bankrupt.
Yeah.
Right? So we can do all we want to try to fix the houses and bring jobs and make the area better. But if the city isn't able to invest in its infrastructure and the infrastructure breaks down, we're kind of just spinning our wheels.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
So we want to get a louder voice like in our community too.
Would you ever envision yourself running?
No, I think, so when you run for office, I think you have to pick a side, right? You have to be a Republican or Democrat, unfortunately. Like independents don't really win or libertarians don't really win.
Yeah.
But so I think you could actually accomplish more in the private market. I think the private market is so much stronger than politics and off. You know, I think you can have a lot more influence as a private individual that doesn't pick a side.
Yeah.
Than you could actually going in there.
Well, I mean, that's actually pretty exciting to take a percentage of every transaction and put it towards another cause. And I can tell by the way you're answering some of my questions, you're like very mission driven, right?
Yeah.
So that was how you answered, no, I'm not going to build new homes because that's not our mission.
Right. Yeah. Well,
cool.
I mean, at some point it might be, right? And it might be fun to try that once in a while, but you do have to be solely focused on one thing. Like that, revitalizing a whole area is a pretty big goal.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to be really focused on that.
Mm-hmm. We'll spend a little time, kind of more weeds on the real estate side, if you don't mind. When you're flipping homes, how many do you think you'll flip this year, and how are you finding those deals?
So our goal is to do 30 flips this year. Our average profit is 40,000, so that would be 1.2 million net profit.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal. We're finding these homes through our own marketing, whether that's direct mail, PPC, our SEO. We drive around with signs on the back of our cars.
Mm-hmm.
We hand out cards everywhere we go. We talk to as many people as we can. We have a pretty good reputation in the area. So that's how we're finding deals. And our goal is really just like Warren Buffett always said, like, instead of becoming the best fisher in the big lake, just find your own lake, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of like our own lake, and we're able to, I'm born and raised there, you know? So anybody that comes into that market, like, they're going to have a really hard time competing against us.
Right.
Because we're so from there, and it's tough.
Mm-hmm. So you're doing a number of things. Which way did you start out, right? Because you're saying you're doing signs, you're passing out cards, you're talking to people in the community, and then marketing. What you said, SEO? Are you doing mail, direct mail?
Yeah, direct mail.
Got it.
SEO, PPC. We've done billboards in the past. We've tossed around radio a little bit, but right now our primary is direct mail and our website.
Got it.
Our online presence.
How many pieces of direct mail are you sending now, would you say?
We're probably doing around 10,000 pieces a month right now.
And then is there like certain targeting you do, or do you just kind of send it to everybody?
So we target a bunch of different lists, whether it's absentee owner, high equity, or probate, or all of them, basically.
Yeah.
It's a smaller area. There's like 300,000 households.
Yeah, I was like, well, you could probably send it to everybody.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're at now.
Did you start with direct mail, or do you remember how you started when you started doing direct to seller marketing?
So we started out. Our whole goal was to be like. So I started out with a partner as well.
Okay.
So that's a whole nother piece of this
Pretty
story.
common, right?
Yeah, and like I spent the last year getting out of all these buildings.
Also pretty common. I hear
and
many
out of this
stories.
Yeah, I was at CG one time and they gave me advice and I took it. Because that was one of my concerns.
The advice was don't partner.
Well, just if you feel like this partnership isn't good, you should probably break it off as soon as possible.
Yeah.
That's the advice I got from people that are.
Yes, and why did you start the partnership in the first place?
Because it is more fun to do it with somebody else.
Yeah, starting out is lonely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then once you get going, you might have different viewpoints or different levels of effort that you want to put into it. So you're kind of pushing against each other.
Exactly.
And that's why most of them don't work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm glad you got out of that and put that behind you.
Yeah. I think a really successful partnership is like one person brings something like clearly.
Yes.
And the other person also, and it's like clearly stated the roles.
Right.
Like maybe I have $20 million and I want to partner with Jimmy, and Jimmy's going to deploy that $20 million, and but I'm the money guy. Like I'm not doing anything. Right. So that's clearly stated. And then if Jimmy isn't doing a good job, then it's like.
But even in that partnership, if you're successful, you will have enough money to go separate ways from Jimmy at some point, right? Yeah. So even that is going to unwind itself in time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, that's a good point.
But anyway, I think it's just really common, so I wanted to break that down and see what your case was. And But yeah, I think people want a partner. I hear all the time because it's lonely, or mainly because it's lonely, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's scary, especially when you're first getting started.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really know what you're doing, so you want to be able to bounce it off your partner.
Right. So when you guys were in that partnership, what was that marketing that you started with?
Oh, sorry. So we started out, we were doing bandit signs for a while, which I do not like bandit signs at all.
Yep, but it's scrappy.
I think it's vandalism to the community. I think it's litter. Like I was a younger man then, I guess. So, but I think it makes our neighborhood look terrible.
Yeah.
And I do not like bandit signs. We used to take magnets. You found a free magnet, and it would have our company info on it.
Mm-hmm.
We drop that off at doorsteps. So then, you walk outside your door, you pick up a magnet, you put it on your fridge. Maybe when you're ready to sell, you'll sell. We were doing SEO, website, online visibility stuff. And we were doing direct mail then too. And we had a couple billboards.
One of the things you said when we were walking in, and I'd personally like to know before we wrap up, was what are you using DealMachine data for?
Yeah, so...
Because I noticed you didn't really say cold calling in your marketing, any of your marketing.
Oh, we did start out cold calling.
Okay.
So I started out cold calling on a dialer all day.
Yeah.
Just calling people. And then right around the time, it seems like a lot of people switched from cold calling to more inbound. And now it seems like people are cold calling again. But so DealMachine, one of the issues that we've been having is a lot of our data is bad.
Not on DealMachine, though.
Not on DealMachine.
Yeah.
No. On PropStream, Batch Leads, some of these other data providers, their data isn't necessarily good. So we went with DealMachine to check our data. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually a new subscriber to DealMachine in the last 2 months.
Well, welcome. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And one of the things that I was telling you before, I did a search on a property I had, a duplex I had, and not only did it have all my information correct, it also had my tenant's information, had their phone number, everything was great. It's phenomenal data. It really is. So we're figuring out how to use that the best right now, and maybe you could show me a couple things, but we'd like to start pulling all our data from DealMachine and maybe cold calling as well.
Okay, well, if you're cold calling, that's definitely going to be the best, easiest recommendation for you to utilize it. What were you pulling it for in the first place, seeing that you weren't cold calling currently?
So I was recommended DealMachine from multiple people.
Yep.
And
thanks, guys.
Yeah. And so that's why I got it.
Yeah.
And I'm still... So right now, one of the things that we were doing, we pull a new list every single month. Because we're in such a small market, we'll take a triangle, we'll draw it on the map, and we'll pull, all that data throughout all of our neighborhoods. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that on DealMachine right now, and maybe you could help me with that and how to build the proper list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could search by counties, and you could search by zip codes in DealMachine, and then there is a drawing tool as well where you can draw a shape.
I did see that. Yeah.
You can't zoom out super far and draw a shape. That's probably what your issue is, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, offline we can go figure out, can we do it via counties potentially?
Yeah, we definitely can.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, I haven't even taken the time to learn it as much as I should have at this point.
Oh no, it's all good. I love helping people. It's easy for me because I'm in it every day. And somebody at your level, I find, it isn't even the one doing the data pulling and stuff. You need it done for you. So I'm always happy to just be like, well, I'll just do it for you and export it for you or whatever. So let's definitely do that. And then just note, every 4 weeks, actually, we come out with new features. And one of the things coming is being able to zoom out more and draw. So that's actually coming in this next month update cycle.
Awesome.
So stay tuned for that.
Great. I'm excited.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to most this year? Other than $1.2 million would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, the money, I don't know. I'm not going to buy anything, I'm just going to keep reinvesting it. So, it doesn't matter that much. We want to also, so a third pillar of that is bringing in good jobs. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of cheap, abundant energy in Northeast Pennsylvania. there's a nuclear power facility where Amazon just is building like massive data centers
Oh,
there
cool.
right now.
Yeah.
So like I think there might be some developments happening in the area, and we'd really like to get into manufacturing as well. So like that is a bigger goal, but we'd
Like a completely separate business you might want to start.
Yeah, it would be like a parent thing. Like I'm not the type. I'm not working for a means to end. Like I'm working because I enjoy it. You know. So, like I think one of the things we can start doing is when we flip a house, right? So we can buy a warehouse. When we flip a house, instead of throwing away all the furniture and the appliances and stuff like that, we can start taking those things to the warehouse. We can sell those as used furniture. Next thing you know, we get a 3D printer and we're printing the knobs for the ovens and stuff like that. The next thing you know, maybe we're making fire alarms and selling them, you know? So that's kind of like my vision for what that would look like. It's a longer term goal, but it seems like a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, it does seem fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I really enjoyed the conversation.
I did too. Thank you so much for having me, and I feel honored to meet the creator of DealMachine.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
It's a great app.
It's an honor to talk with you, and we didn't even know each other before this, so thanks for being awesome and open to coming up to the conference early and doing this podcast. So not everybody's open to like meeting a stranger and doing a podcast. So
yeah, it was great.
It worked out great.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
And I was very, I can't. If I didn't tell the full truth, like I wouldn't keep the same story. So everything I say is like, I give it all.
Yeah.
So
appreciate
it. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.